Welcome everyone to this session of Supercharge Your Math Lesson with three simple strategies. I'm Bill Atwood, thrilled that you're all here. This is my associate Christine Gibson on the top and also Cheryl McDonough, and they'll be in the session as well. It's going to be a lightning fast workshop, 35 minutes, and we're really hoping that if I go too fast, which I tend to do, we're going to have the recording made of this session and we'll send it out to you over email so you can play it back in whatever speed feels right for you. But I'm very happy here. What you need for this workshop is you need a pen and some kind of paper so you can write stuff down. Also, you want to pretend like you have someone next to you. So you can say, when I say turn to your neighbor, you can certainly just turn to your neighbor and chat to your invisible friend. I'm not going to probably have time to do breakout rooms or even call on that many people, although Andrew looks ready to be called on. So I'm happy to see that. But I want to make this feel like we are in a classroom because these strategies and techniques are going to work really well if you get the kids interacting and talking. So I'm going to go ahead now and start with the slideshow, which is right here. This is the main idea. Supercharge your math lessons with three simple strategies. That's my email on the bottom. If you have any questions at any point, you can email me, batwood@collinzed.com. Again, my name is Bill Atwood. I've been teaching for 20 years and been doing this work for another 20. So over 40 years of really working on trying to be the best teacher that I can be. So here we go. What we're going to try to cover today is a quick introduction, about 6 minutes. What do we know about engagement and learning? Then three strategies, 7 minutes each, quick writes, vocabulary, and checking for understanding. And then we're going to talk briefly about this desktop guide, which summarizes all these ideas, which you might want to get at the end of this workshop. First, three strategies to launch or close a lesson. First, I want you to be able to preview and review essential content every day using critical math graphics. Number two, like that one. Number two, how can we facilitate better discussions and promote more engagement among our students? We know that kids talking about the math to each other is going to make things stick much better. Number three, how can we build math vocabulary and deepen understanding of key concepts more effectively? There's parallel as an example. And number four, can we give more quick, clear feedback both on their participation and on their learning? So there's an example of a really quick exit ticket or an entrance ticket on the right. So those are our goals, is to have these three strategies do these four things. Okay? So quick background on engagement and learning. Why is the beginning and ending of your lesson so important? Well, first study in 2005, based on 1,500 classrooms, 85% of those classrooms, fewer than half the kids were paying attention. And that was in 2005 when smartphones were just getting started. So I imagine it's even worse today. Robert Marzano and Deb Pickering wrote a book called A Highly Engaged Classroom. And in it, they said the two key components to engagement are how do I feel and am I interested? They called that attention. And then they said that wasn't enough. The kids had to feel that this was important and that they could do this. And they said that leads to engagement. So those four working together are what we're after today in this workshop. The first one is hard to control. When kids walk into your classroom, we don't know how they feel. They could feel sad, they could be hungry, they could be tired, they could be angry. We have to greet them at the door and try to see if we can get a handle, if not changing the mood, finding out what the mood is. But then in our lesson, we can use our pacing, we can use humor, physical movements to try to get kids to move a little to feel better about getting ready to learn. Am I interested? That's number two. So here's the old pour the Coca-Cola into the baking soda. What's going to happen? We need launching prompts that are going to captivate students' attention. We can't just say, what do you know? What do you want to know about fractions? Is not enough. We have to use the senses. We have to use competition. We have to use unusual questions to get them going. Number three, is this important? So here's a simple graph that might launch a math lesson. This shows that if you invested $10,000 in 1990, today it would be worth $262,000. I wish I had done that in 1990, but this is an example of a kind of an interesting graphic that kind of leads to the importance of what we're going to talk about today. And then finally, is our lesson, is our explanation of the topic at the beginning of the lesson clear enough that kids feel like, oh, yeah, I think I can do this? Because if they don't feel like they can do it, it's not going to make them want to pay attention to it. So, those are the two big ideas. Do I have their attention and are they engaged? Secondly, what do we know about learning? Well, what we know is that the brain is incredibly good at shedding useless information. It turns out that studies have showed since in 1880, when the first study was done, that people forget 56% of new information within an hour. So, Cheryl, you will have forgotten 56% of this by 6 o'clock tonight. Andrew, after a day, you will have forgotten 66% of what I talked about, unless there is reinforcement or connection to prior knowledge. Every teacher's challenge is to find ways to thwart this shedding of information from the brain. And that's the Ebbinghaus curve. You can see there's actually a logarithmic function to describe the curve, but it's not good unless we do stuff. We know that learning could be defined as changing your long-term memory. And that's how we're going to do it. A lot of frequent retrieval, a lot of spaced practice, feedback quickly, and then mixing it up, trying to produce stuff from the beginning of the year and the end of the year and mixing it all together so kids are always going back and retrieving. So those are the big ideas. How do I feel? Am I interested? That makes up attention. Is this important? Can I do this? That makes up engagement. Okay, end of lesson. What I would do now is turn to your invisible friend next to you and tell them, put your notes away, what did I just teach you about learning? So, Christine, you're going to talk to your invisible friend. Cheryl, your invisible friend. Andrew, your invisible friend. And Sarah, your invisible friend. Tell them, pretend the person wasn't here and you have to bring them up to speed. Oh, so I'll model this. Oh, so Bill's basically talking about how do we get kids' attention because it seems like that. You ready? I'll give you 1 minute. Go turn and teach right now. Go. All right. Perfect. Everybody come back. Excellent job. That is called turn and teach. And the idea with it is after you teach the kids something, after you've launched your lesson, instead of just saying, "Do you guys get this?" and all the kids nod like, "Yes, I get this." You say, "Okay, tell your person next to you, pretend they don't know what you just said, and teach them." If you want to have the partner play a role, they can say, "Oh yeah, I get that," and then the teacher could say, "Okay, now you explain it to me." So there could kind of be a little back and forth, a little quizzy, if you will, as part of turn and teach. Okay, moving on. How can writing help us with this big challenge? How can we make simple changes to the opening and closing of our lesson and use writing? So here we go. This is the desktop challenge. And the reason I'm showing this today is because I have summarized a lot of these ideas. Christine and John Collins and I have summarized these ideas on this desktop reference. And right here, you can see this is the part we're going to use writing to do these things. Draw out background knowledge, promote engagement, try to increase long-term retention, and provide opportunities for feedback and build math fluency and vocabulary. So that's what we're going to work on with our prompts. Now, on the next page of the guide, it talks about type 1 writing, which is right here. In the Collins world, we call that type 1. It's brainstorming. It doesn't require a correct answer. We just want kids to get ideas down on paper. And the prompts we're going to work on today are these. There's 14 of them on the thing. I'm not going to go through them all today, obviously, but we're going to practice a couple. But the idea is to pick a prompt at the beginning of your lesson to get kids to think. That's what we're really trying to do. And we're going to use images today to try to get at that thinking. So with your paper right now, here's your first example. I want you to stop and think. This is what this cartoon says from the New Yorker. And here's your thing. Write 3 or more things that you notice about this. I could say 3 things that are true. I could say make 3 observations if I wanted to work in that word observation or describe a pattern. Or I could say draw 3 things you notice if we're working with little kids. But here's the picture. Are you ready? Take a look at this. I'm going to give you 1 minute to write down 3 things or more. Always say or more that you notice about, if that you notice about this image. Are you ready? Get my stuff out of the way here. Set, go. And I'm going to have you hold up your paper. So make sure you write down 3 things, but you're not going to get the participation check that we talked about at the beginning of the year. Now, I'm going to talk while you're writing. This moment in your class is perfect because you can like take a minute now, find your glasses, get a drink of water. Where's my water? You can walk around and check on kids who might be feeling sad. You notice when they came in, they were a little sad. You're going to go over, find out what happened to their pet bunny. You can walk around and see what kids are writing. You can take attendance. You can listen to see who you might start the conversation with. All the while, you have your clipboard out and you're going to record participation here. You're looking for just kids to try to write down or draw 3 things or more that they notice. And I might have to give you a word bank or I might have to model a little bit like, oh, I notice there's a lot of dots. There's a lot of fractions. There's a bunch of lines. I don't know. Okay, let's say time's up. Now, what I would do next is I don't want to collect these, but I want to check them. So hold your papers up to your little Zoom camera, the 3 of you that I can see. Yes, Christine, you get a check. Regina, you get a check. Well done. Andrew, on the Post-it note, way to go. Exactly. So everyone give yourself a check on the paper. That check tells me that you tried. So I'm trying to find ways to record kids' effort. Then I might say, okay, boys and girls, before we move on, I might, if I was doing younger kids, I might do this line instead. But I might say, you're going to turn to your friend, your partner, and you're going to draw a line under what you wrote. So everyone draw a line right under what you wrote on your paper. And you're going to turn to your partner and you're going to check to see if you said anything that was the same. Then, if I have time, I might say, then add something under the line that your neighbor noticed that they thought was cool. And then if I have time or if I'm really wanting to work this up, I'm going to say star 3 things or 2 things or 1 thing that you and your partner agree are really important to notice about this line. So I'm going to model what this would look like. I wrote mine down. I talked to my partner and go, well, I noticed that there were a lot of dots on the bottom line. My partner goes, oh yeah, I noticed that too. And I also noticed that it looked like a Christmas tree. It was kind of like this shape, a lot of Christmas trees. And then my partner says, okay, well, what I noticed was some of the fractions were equal. So the kids are sharing ideas, but they have to write something down so I know they had this conversation. So it's a really excellent way to both kids get talking, but also have a little accountability so that I know they were talking about this thing. So that's called check, add, and star. Once I've done that for a couple of minutes, maybe just 1 minute, I'm going to call on people. But what I'm going to do, and I'll try to model this here with Christine and Cheryl, is I'm going to try to use talk moves, okay? And talk moves are these kinds of things. When Cheryl says something, I'm going to make sure everyone looks at Cheryl because I'm going to ask Christine, what did Cheryl say? And I'm going to ask Andrew to build on to that. And I might ask Regina, do you agree with that? So the idea is after you have them write and talk, you're going to build this conversation with your whole class by getting kids to talk to each other, sharing the information about this number line. So, Christine, what's 1 thing that you noticed about this number line? You're going to have to unmute yourself, Christine and Cheryl. You're my models today. Ready? Christine, what's 1 thing you noticed?
So I noticed that the 1/2, the 2/4, the 5, 3/6, 4/8, and 5/10 were all kind of in line with each other.
Cheryl, what did she say? Did you hear that?
Yes, she said that there were several of the lines that were in line with each other. And that is one of the things I had down there, Christine, as well.
So we
Andrew,
should put a check, you're saying,
Andrew,
by what
do you agree with that? Do you agree with that what she said?
Absolutely.
Why is that? Why are those fractions equal, do you think?
Well, they line up with each other. I mean, I'm coming from elementary land. They line up with each other, so they have to be about the same size.
And Regina, would you say that they're the same distance from 0 if this was a race?
Yes, they're the same distance from 0.
And Rita, can you see any other fractions that are the same distance from zero besides the half ones?
I see 1/4 and 2/8.
Fantastic. Okay, so that's thank you, thank you, thank you. That's an example of what we call talk moves, where I might ask someone, and the first thing I say is, "Did you? Can you tell me what she said?" Not as a gotcha, but as like if you say, "I don't know," I'll say, "Okay, can you say it again?" Maybe you weren't paying attention. I don't care. We all have moments where we're not paying attention, but really trying to get the kids to listen to each other and share their thoughts about the graphic. So those are called talk moves after a check, add, and star. That can be an excellent way to get the discussion going. Andrew, you're elementary. I might not start with the number line. I might start with more of an area model like this to ask kids what they notice about this drawing. They're all showing 1/4 kind of thing. Anyway, what we know from John Hattie is that classroom discussion has a huge effect size on learning, 0.82. So for Hattie, that means you get 2 years of growth from 1 year of school. So if you can have the kids do a quick write, a turn and talk, and then facilitate a short discussion about that thing that you're going to be teaching on that day, you're going to go much farther. So that's the main idea there with the quick writes. I mentioned, what do you notice? But another good one would be, what are 2 questions likely to be asked? So this would be another great one here. I want kids to know on the state test, they're probably going to ask about how many pages will be read in 6 minutes or 8 minutes or 10 minutes. Or maybe if 300 pages were read, how many minutes did it take? Or can you make an equation or an expression for any number of hours? Is it hours? Is it hours read? Is it days read? So the idea is when kids see a graph or table like this, they should be able to anticipate what kinds of math questions are related to this table. Another great one to ask is, how are things similar or different? So here's a classic line plot or a dot plot. 2 different whale companies going out in the morning or the afternoon. I might say to kids, write down 3 similarities or 3 differences. This is a fantastic question to ask kids to write about. You're not necessarily looking for all 3 similarities. Any combination, any number that adds up to 3 or more would be great. So they're seeing and they're paying attention to the morning trip had a bigger range. You might see 11 whales, but more likely I would take the afternoon trip because you're in the bulk of the data is in a good number of whales. Fourth one might be, what's a common mistake? So here's a classic graphic, and the question is to find the area. What's a mistake you might make on this question? That's an excellent quick prompt to ask kids, because if you know what mistakes are going to be there, then you're less likely to make them. Another that would be for the younger kids, they don't read the key, so that would be a common mistake. Here are the graphics that are on the desktop guide, and in a workshop, we would practice making up good quick write prompts to go with each of these graphics, whether you are in first grade or whether you are in high school. This is a great place to go for ideas about graphics. Here's a kindergarten one, just writing what did you do in class yesterday. They were doing bar graphs. This is another first grade one where the kid was trying to make up questions like the ones in the book. Here's one about what's difficult for you now about decimals. We were asking kids to reflect on their progress. Not good at decimals. And here's one, what do you know about fractions? And so again, all of these prompts are asking kids to think about what they already know or what they notice so that they are getting ready to learn. Here's one from high school, what problems were difficult on the homework. So those are some examples we want to use writing to preview the essential content, to facilitate better discussions, and to get into vocabulary, which is what we're going to do next. We are 19 minutes in, a teeny bit behind, but here we go. Vocabulary, strategy number 2. We talked about these prompts. Are you guys ready with your pens? Here's your next one. This is a Family Feud style, so this is going to work on getting kids interested. 100 math teachers surveyed, top 5 answers, top 10 answers on the board. Name a math word related to this image. See if you can get at least 5. Don't worry about spelling. What are some math words that we'd expect to be encountered? Ready, set, go. You have 30 seconds. This is the lightning round. Again, I'm walking around, I'm whispering in kids' ears. I might be scribing for some kids, whispering. I might be sneezing, perpendicular as I'm walking around. I want kids to be successful. Again, I've got my grade book out. I'm trying to record that kids are trying. I might be listening in when we do the check out and star. Okay, ready? Time's up. What do I do now, Cheryl? Hold up your papers, everybody. Let me see you wrote something. Regina, well done. Andrew coming in. Nice work, Cheryl. Yes, give yourself another check. Have another margarita at dinner tonight. Nice work. That's it. Now I could do check and star again here. I could say, hold up your paper, and then I could say, turn to your neighbor, check any ones you had in common, add a couple, and then star a couple that you think are really good. All right, let's see how you guys did on this. Ready? And then I could do some of the talk moves again. Perpendicular. What do you think? Let's see if you had any of these. Survey said our number one answer: intersect. Intersection. Anybody have that? Yes, good work. Parallel. Anybody have? Well done. Perpendicular. Excellent, excellent. You guys are on file. Angle, vertex, protractor, any of those. Nice work. Obtuse, acute, straight. Oh, people are on fire. Degrees, 90, 180, less than, more than, equal, congruent. Line segment. Ray, well done. Triangle. Can you see the little triangle down here in the corner? And then there's a trapezoidal shape right in the middle there. And then we have supplementary angles, complementary angles. And then I'm sort of on my screen here. Where am we? We've got the transversal. So if you're in middle school or high school, Maple Street forms a transversal through these two intersecting parallel streets, Franklin Street and Lincoln Street. So those are some of the key words. Did I get more on there? Transversal. Yes. Okay. Beautiful work. So that would be an example. Do I have your attention? This is kind of game-like. This is Family Feud. I'll tell you, second period got most of these. How can you guys, last year's class got most? So the idea, either at the beginning of your lesson, if you think kids know a little of this, or after you've already taught this a bit, you want to see if they've held on to it. Okay. If I was teaching middle school or high school, I might use this shape and get some of my keywords around transformations on a coordinate plane. Okay. Again, there are plenty of images on the guide that you could generate vocabulary for. Vocabulary is one of the most important things we're going for. So I have a list on the guide of some of the key, most important vocabulary words for every standard across grade levels, plus a list of academic words that you should be using all the time. All right. Let me check the time here. How are we doing? Okay, 22 minutes. All right, let's do a little charades. Now, this isn't in the guide, but I am going to send you to my YouTube channel. So we're going to do a little charades now. Make sure the kids aren't around, anyone goofy, because they're going to make fun of you. Whatever I do, you do. Whatever I say, you guys can stay muted. I want you to say. And this is the YouTube channel here, and some of the ideas around building vocabulary are described here. This is, can you act out these words? Okay, you ready? So the first word, everyone go like this, say parallel. Just go like this, parallel. This is perfect, good job. That's parallel. This is intersect, just crissy-crossy like that. That's intersect. All right. Perpendicular is like this. Everyone go like this. It's perpendicular. Good. Okay. And then right angles is like this with your hand, or you can go your other hand. Okay. Then we're going to make a right triangle, right? Acute angle, a little narrow, and then obtuse angle. And if you close it off, now you have an acute triangle and you have an obtuse triangle. Good. And obviously you could get the right triangle. Here we go, transversal. So make two lines like this and then cross it with the transversal. This is called the transversal T. Supplementary, if you take a straight angle like this and you kind of go like this, that will be your supplementary angles. Complementary are right in here. These two angles here are complementary. Congruent, everyone go like this, right? And then go like this, translate. Go like this, reflect. Go like this, rotate. Those are some of your big ones from geometry. Variable. So I usually make an X like this for a variable. If I want to get two X's, combine like terms. This is called the coefficient. Everyone say 3X, 5X, 9X. Well, I can't do 9, there's more hands. The coefficient we talked about, combine like terms. So those are some of the key words. This is all my YouTube channel, but you can get area, perimeter, division, divisor, factor pairs, product. Could you then, when you're drawing out the vocabulary, give kids a gesture that will help them visualize the word and hold on to it for many, many, many days? Obviously, if you're not comfortable with the gestures, you can also get at the words through their roots. You can have them design a wordwell card which suggests what the word means, but we really want to go for visual when possible. And our second choice would be, can we get the root? Like if you know peri means around, you also know what a periscope is, to look around, and peripheral vision is to look out the sides or around your head. And a periodontist works on your gums around your dentine. So sometimes it's really helpful to think about where this word comes from. But the other idea would be perimeter, would be perimeter, just going right around your hand. Okay, so that is vocabulary. We're 20 minutes in. How's everybody feeling? Any questions so far? So we've talked about engagement, meaning, am I interested? Can I do this? How do I feel? And is this important? We've talked about quick writes, followed by check, add, and star, and then those talk moves, and building vocabulary ongoingly. Our last strategy that's described in the math guide is checking for understanding. So what we want to try to do is use an entrance ticket or an exit ticket to check for understanding, give feedback, and again, continue working on retrieval, going back to remember what was taught and consolidating it together. So here's an example. I want you to take a look at these 6 pennies right now. On your paper, I want you to write down 3 similarities or differences between these coins. You can do all similarities or all differences. I don't care. It's a quick write. Take a look at these pennies. How are they the same? How are they different? I'll give you 30 seconds. Like you could write, oh, they all have heads. They're all round. They're writing on them. Like that. Go. Again, questions about similarities and differences are huge. It may be the way we learn everything is by comparing it or contrasting it to something else we already know. So getting kids to look at how things are the same and different is a fantastic quick write prompt. Okay, time's up. Now I'm going to have you hold up your fingers. If you think it's A, only one of these is the real penny. Okay. You've kind of looked at all the pennies and now you're trying to decide which one is the real true penny. Is it A? Okay. Is it B going down? Is it C? Is it D, E, or F? I've asked this question in hundreds of workshops. No one ever knows. So make a quick vote. If you want to go with F, you have to hold up 6 fingers. Let me see. What are you thinking? Which penny do you think is the correct penny? You have to vote. Take a guess. Which penny? Andrew's on an important call. Regina, what are you thinking? Regina's thinking number 3. She's thinking C. Okay. Cheryl, what are you thinking? Cheryl can't decide. She's leaning towards number 4. She's leaning towards D. Christine, what are you thinking? Christine, yeah, no one ever knows. And you would say, well, I mean, maybe not so much today, but you've certainly seen a lot of pennies. How come you don't know? And probably because no one has ever quizzed you on which is a real penny. So the point here is that we need to quiz kids more often, not as a punishment, but to actually help them find out how well they know something. Now, it turns out that C is the real penny. So Regina, you win. Well done. And then the question really is, why is Lincoln's face going that way? Most of the coins are going that way. In God We Trust is on the top, Liberty is on the left, and the date. Apparently, the makers of the mint thought that those were the important information to have on the front. United States of America, that's on the back, I think. But it may be because the guy who made this coin based it on this portrait of Lincoln, who was facing that way when he designed the coin. So we could dig into more on this coin. But the point is, by asking you that question, what do you notice about it? And then quizzing you, then that's what makes you go back and think. You will never forget now which is the real penny should you come across it in life. Even though you've handled hundreds of pennies, you haven't really thought about what makes a penny a penny. Okay, so finally, in the desktop reference, we have something called type 2 writing, which is basically a short quiz. And the prompts that I want you to focus on here are all described in the desktop guide. How can I use my prompt to make sure kids that I know that they were able to do it? So on your paper right now, I'm going to give you a quick quiz. This would happen in the last 2 minutes of class or the first 2 minutes of class. I want to make sure my quiz is easy to correct and measures my objectives. So I usually use this acronym SHADE. Is it obvious what the success criteria is? Did I ask you to do a little higher order thinking? Maybe. Did I use academic vocabulary? Am I going to use the data to inform tomorrow's lesson? And can I correct this thing really easily? So here's your question. There's the academic vocabulary. Your question is, part A, list 2 ideas or strategies from this workshop. So on your paper, you write part A and write down 2 things we talked about today. And part B, pick one of the ideas from A and briefly but clearly describe why it's useful or why it's an important idea from today. All right, so you have 1 minute. See if you can crank out a very quick response to this quiz. If I was in the classroom, I'd be packing up now, getting ready to go to the dentist appointment or whatever I have to do after school, and the kids are all really quickly busy, cranking out this very short quiz that I can correct in like 15 seconds per kid. Now, I don't know how your class is organized, but you need some paper that kids can have, whether it's a notebook, a folder with loose leaf in it, some way that you can get them to write. It could be on the computer, but I'm really a big fan of writing on paper because I think the kids are on the computers too much. But I'm going to just stop sharing for a second, and I am going to share my visualizer tool here. So here's what I wrote for this question. And I have it on a piece of loose leaf because today's quiz was up here. Tomorrow's quiz is here. And the next day's quiz is going to be down here, possibly. So I would love to get 3 quizzes on one piece of paper. And then maybe on the back, I would have 3 more quizzes. So this one piece of paper could hold 6 quizzes. The kids would never take it home. It would just go back and forth between me and the kids. And I might not even be able to have to correct it every time, but they're not taking it home, so we can correct it together. So let's take a look at mine. Part A, turn and teach. Was that a strategy we talked about today? Absolutely, check. Charades. Did we do charades? Absolutely, that's 2 points. Part B said, pick a strategy and explain why it's useful or important. They said turn and teach is when you teach someone about what you learned. Well, that's a good description of what turn and teach is, but it doesn't explain why it's useful or important. So if this question was worth 4 points, this kid would get 3 out of 4, and I would write here, why useful, ? And then I would check in when he comes back. So that's an example of how I would correct it. So taking a look at what you guys wrote, did you get the 2 points for part A? Did you name 2 strategies? Give yourself a check and a check if you did. Did you pick one and explain briefly, but clearly why it's important or useful? Christine, I'm going to call on you to read your answer, and let's see if Christine gets the full points. Are you ready, Christine?
Yes. Okay, so I said number 1, use graphics to prompt thinking.
What do we think? Thumbs up. Does she get a point for that? Use graphics to prompt thinking? Definitely. Oh, she's got one of the 4 points. Go, Christine.
Check understanding frequently.
Did we talk about checking understanding frequently? Everybody show me right now. Show me parallel with your arms. Yes, good. She goes, good. Show me intersect. Excellent job. Show me variable. Remember this? Show me combine like variables. There we go. Good job. Congruent. Translate. Excellent job. So that's another strategy, checking for understanding and participation. Good. Give me here part B, Christine.
I said number 2, checking understanding is important because it helps kids remember what they're learning.
It helps kids remember what they're learning. I think we're going to get, what do you guys think? She gets the 2 points for that? Brief and clear. Nice job, Christine. Give her a round of applause. Well done. Well done. Well done. Okay. So that's an example again of how you can give a quick quiz. Now, tomorrow's quiz might have been to just write down 4 vocabulary words and draw a picture, illustrated picture of 2 of the terms. So these can be as low level or as high level as you want them to be. The goal would be to have some way to measure, are the kids, did my lesson do what it was supposed to do? So there we go. That is the example of the quick write. Again, I have some examples of kids in here. What's a prime number? And this should probably say, what's a prime number and give me an example. But a better one might be identify a number that people think is prime, but isn't. Part B, why do people think it's prime? And part B, explain why it isn't. So you would get different answers that you would then vote to see if they get all the points. So that's the quick quiz. And it shouldn't always be sit, stay, heal. It should be sometimes think, innovate, be yourself. Remember the Bloom's taxonomy, and remember what are the things that, whether it's a picture, up, down for little kids, empty foil, or a question about area, that's what we want. Because the real thing I want to getting back to where we started is, can I use this quick quiz as a way to get kids on a winning streak? Winning streaks are very powerful. If you walked out of my class and you got 4 out of 4 right, as Christine did, she's like, I kind of like math. I think this is good. I like Mr. Atwood. He's a good teacher. So you start to generate all this positive mojo if you can use the quizzes to get what you want. Okay, so those were our 4 big ideas. Using the quick writes, building vocabulary ongoingly, checking for understanding. And again, it's all here in the desktop guide. If you have any questions or ideas, you can use the chat to contact Christine. You guys were an excellent audience. Does anybody have any questions for me before we end the Zoom? How did I do on time? I said it was going to be lightning fast, 37 minutes, 16 seconds. Pretty good. Questions? Again, reach out to Christine or me. If you have concerns or there are more materials that you would like to get. My YouTube channel, if you just do Bill Atwood teaching on YouTube, you'll come across a lot of those gestures that I was describing if you liked that. The desktop guide, it's up for sale since you guys came today for just 20% off. Pretty inexpensive. Sit on the desk. That's what it's called, the desktop reference. All right. Thank you guys very much. Give yourselves a round of applause. You survived another PD opportunity on Zoom.
Thank you, everybody.
Have a great day, everybody.
I dropped the link for the guide into the chat as well as the code for getting the discount, but you can also find that online.